Okay, so in this presentation, we're going to look at how the knights move. So the knight is usually said to be worth about 3 pawns, give or take, and is quite a tricky little piece. And the best way to remember how he moves is in the shape of a capital L, that you can twist it round to lots of different directions. And the really special strength of a knight is he's the only chess piece who can jump over other ones, so he doesn't get hemmed in. So let's see how that works. So there's where the knights go at the beginning of a game. So the white ones will be b1, g1, and the black ones b8, g8. And as you can see, each of them can currently, or from the start of a game, move to 2 squares by jumping over the pawns in the way. So if we look at the black knight on g8, he can make his capital L shape to go to h6, or he can sort of mirror that and go to f6. And the knight on b8 has the option to do c6 and a6. So it's always 2 in one direction and then nudge to the side. So it's always a 2 and 1 move. The white knight on b1 can go to c3. So it's a sort of turned upside down L. And he can also go to a3. So 2 squares and 1 to the side in both cases. And the same for the knight on g1. 2 squares forward, 1 to the side, so he can go to f3 and h3. And a good way to visualize this is that whatever color square a knight is on, all of the squares that he can go to will be the opposite color. So if you just look at the one on g1, he's currently sat on a black square. If you think about it, all the squares he can go to are white. It's always the case. The white knight on b1 that's on a white square can only go to black ones. So here we can see a knight on an open chessboard, and he is attacking 8 squares from that position. Any black pieces on those squares would be able to be captured, but of course the knight can't capture his own men, and he can only take pieces, capture pieces that are on a square he lands on. He can't sort of capture them en route and knock them off the way. Now here's a black knight on b6, and he only commands 6 squares from there, as he's slightly closer to the edge of the board. And so he can move to a8, to c8, to d7, or c4, and he could also capture the white pawn on a4, because that's another L shape. But what he can't do is go to d5. He can't kick his own pawn off of the square. What we can say is that if a white piece on the board was able to take the black pawn on d5, that knight would then be able to recapture. And so what we say is that the black knight is protecting the pawn on d5. He's attacking or threatening the white pawn on a4, but he's protecting his own pawn on d5. In this position here, if it's white's knight to move, he can capture either of the black rooks. So c4 and d5 are both L-shaped moves. There they are on the screen. But of course, if he does, the black knight can take him back. Again, shown by the 2 new arrows on the screen. The black knight then, if it was a black move now, could capture the white pawn on a4. But of course, we know by now that the white pawn could take him back diagonally forwards. Just remember that unlike in drafts, you don't have to capture just because you can. You don't have to take. You may ignore it if you wish to. So in drafts, if there's a capture possible, you have to do it. In chess, you do not. So very, very simple. We now have some idea of how the knights move. Set the board up as below to play whoever you're playing, just the pawns and the knights. And as usual with pawn wars, who can get a pawn to the opposite side of the board first? That person is the winner. Or if you can capture all of the enemy pieces, then you win. And of course, if your enemy has no moves whatsoever, then we would say you've won a game of pawn wars. Okay, good luck with working out how the knights move.